What up, though? This your boy, the most socially conscious one, back at you. I'm hitting you up with a very special public service announcement. As I'm speaking to you right now, it is 79 days away from Election Day. If you haven't done so, check your voter registration. Make sure it's up to date. It's not a joke. It don't matter which political party you're with or who your affiliation is, what your beliefs are on policies. Now is the time to check up on your voter registration. And to do so, go to www.vote.org. I say again, www.vote.org. Check your voter registration. Make sure you can be eligible to vote on November 5th, 2024. Now, back to your regularly scheduled programming. What up, though, everybody? This your boy, Motor Socially Conscious One, back at you again with another video. If this is your first time stopping by my channel, please hit that subscribe button, and I promise you, I'm gonna hit you up with that content. Well, whether if it's from lifestyle to sports. And if you return to my channel, I deeply appreciate the support from the bottom of my heart. Now today, I'm gonna hit you up with that football content, and we're gonna continue breaking down each division for the season. Now I'm gonna hit you up with that AFC South, where we talk about the Houston Texans, Tennessee Titans, Jacksonville Jaguars, and the Indianapolis Colts. And if you hear some noises in the background, that's just my family talking. But that's what we're gonna do today. So without further ado, let's get to it. The first team up are the Houston Texans, and they will have D'Amico Ryans as the second-year head coach, and he was the runner-up for Coach of the Year last season. And at the quarterback position, C.J. Stroud, he returns after an impressive first season, and Davis Mills will be his backup. And at the running back position, Joe Mixon should be the number one running back. He was signed after being released by the Bengals, and he will be backed up by Damian Pierce. And at the wide receiving core, you have Stephon Diggs, who they brought in from a trade with the Bills during the off season. Also have Nico Collins, who they signed to the multi-year extension. And personally, I thought they were going to make him the number one option. And they will also have Tank Dell, and he is returning from a season-ending injury. And they also brought in Robert Woods, and they also had John Mechie III. That should make for a pretty solid wide receiving core for C.J. Stroud. Let's not forget at the tight end position, they have Dalton Schultz. He is an efficient tight end. And they also drafted Cade Stover, a fellow Buckeye. The O-line is pretty stacked, and they're led by All-Pro Laramie Tunsil at the left tackle position. And the defense, now let's talk about the defense. Defense is lightweight, loaded. They have edge rushers Will Anderson Jr., who is coming to his second year and is a solid defensive player. And they also brought in Daniil Hunter, who was signed in the off season, and he coming from the Vikings. And also have new Texan Mario Edwards Jr. on the D line. And they also have former Tide teammates Christian Harris and Henry Toto at the linebacking spots. And the secondary, they have Derek Stingley Jr. And they also have Kamari Lassiter, who was drafted in the second round from Georgia on the outside. And Jimmy Ward, he is manning the middle of that defensive backfield at the safety position. Their draft picks include the other draft picks, include Blake Fisher from Notre Dame and Kalen Bullock from USC. He is the safety that should add depth to the secondary position. And games for the Texans include a Week 1 division game on the road at the Colts and a Week 2 home game against the Bears, where a potential duel with Stroud and rookie quarterback Caleb Williams will ensue, and a Week 3 road game at Minnesota, as well as a Week 4 home game, division home game rather, against the Jaguars. The next 4 games are a home battle with the Bills, back-to-back road games at New England and Green Bay, and another division home game, versus Indianapolis. Then they play 4 days later on the road on a Thursday night against Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, which is going to allow for a mini break, rather, as the showdown on Sunday night will go down against the Lions. Then a Monday night showdown at Dallas in Jerry's World, and a Week 12 battle with the Titans in Houston. Then they have a road game in Jacksonville, division road game against those same Jags in week 13 before they can enjoy a bye week, excuse me. And then they finished the season at home versus the Dolphins, on the road against the Chiefs, at home versus Baltimore, and they'll finish the season on the road in Nashville against the Titans. Next up, we have the Jacksonville Jaguars. They are coached by Doug Peterson. He is returning for his third season on the sideline. And at the quarterback position, you have Trevor Lawrence, who returned for a fourth season. He's looking to bounce back from a down season somewhat. And his backup will be Mac Jones, who was the former Patriots quarterback. He was traded to the Jags during the offseason. And at the running back position, they will have Travis Etienne Jr. as running back one, who is in his third season playing fully, and his fourth season technically, but he was injured during his first season. And his backup will be Tank Bigsby. And the wide receivers, they will have Christian Kirk, Gabe Davis, who replaces Kevin Ridley, I suppose. And he is coming over from Buffalo, signed during the offseason. And they have rookie Brian Thomas, who was drafted by the Jags from LSU. He is the talented wide receiver, and that's like a wide receiving factory in Baton Rouge. And at the tight end position, they have Evan Ingram, and he is one of the better tight ends in the league when he's on, and he could be a valuable weapon for Trevor Lawrence. At the O-line position is decent, and they do have right guard Brandon Scherf, and they're led by him, and they also have Cam Robinson at the left tackle position. The D-line is pretty good. It's solid. They signed Eric Armstead from the 49ers, and they have Trayvon Walker. He returned for his third season. And they also, I cannot forget about Josh Allen. He is an all-pro in his own right. And at the linebacker position, they do have Devin Lloyd and Chad Muma, and that is a young linebacking core for the Jacksonville Jaguars. At the secondary position, cornerbacks Ronald Darby and Tyson Campbell on the outside, and at the safety position, they have signed Darnell Savage. He was signed on the off season as well, and they also signed Devin Duvernay. He will handle kick and punt return duties. And their games include a week one trip to South Florida to take on the Dolphins, a week two home opener versus the Browns, then back-to-back road clashes. The first one against Buffalo, and the latter is a division game against the Texans in Houston. That's just the first. Excuse me. That's just the first four games. The next four games are as follows: Week 5 at home versus the Colts in another division game, then back-to-back games in the UK. The first they'll play as the road team against the Bears, and the second neutral game on foreign soil, they will play at the home team against the Patriots in Wembley. And a Week 8 home game versus the Packers. Week 9 through 13, that includes a road game at Philadelphia to take on the Eagles, a home game versus the Minnesota Vikings, another road game in the D to take on the Lions, and then a bye week. And then the last 6 games include a home division game versus Houston, a road division game at Tennessee, home game versus the Jets, and they're at Vegas versus the Raiders. And then they finish up. And then they, excuse me, on the they face the Titans at home, and they close out on the road in Indy. Next up, we have the Indianapolis Colts, where Shane Steichen is in his second year as the head man on the sideline. And at the quarterback position, you have Anthony Richardson. He is slated to be the starting quarterback, and he is returning from a season-ending injury that happened during his rookie season. And he is backed up by Joe Flacco, who has signed during the offseason after his run with the Cleveland Browns. At the running back position, you have Jonathan Taylor, and whenever he's healthy, he is a top running back in the NFL. And backing him up is Trey Sermon, also Tyler Goodson. And at the wide receiver position, you have Michael Pittman Jr., Josh Downs, and the newly drafted Adonai Mitchell. If I'm messing his name up, I apologize. He is coming from Texas. The tight end room may have some unknown players, but they're effective players, and you might well say playmakers for Richardson and Kyler Granson and Mo Alley Cox, the veteran. The offensive line, they have the stud left guard Quentin Nelson and the center Ryan Kelly, and he is very formidable. I should say they're very formidable for that offensive line. Let's talk about the defense. The defensive side of the ball includes stars on the D-line in DeForest Buckner and emerging stars in Taekwon Lewis and Kwity Paye at the edge positions. The linebacking core includes studs like Zaire Franklin and EJ Speed. The defensive backfield includes young ballers like Julian Blackman and the nickelback Kenny Moore II. And the draft picks besides Mitchell includes first round Latu, an edge rusher from UCLA. That should bolster the depth of the D line. If I messed this name up, I do apologize. And they did sign Raekwon Davis in a free agency during the offseason. Let's talk about their games. Their games include a week one home game, and that's a division game against the defending AFC South champions Texans. That's followed by a week two road game at Lambeau against the Packers.
Then they can have back-to-back home games in week 3 versus the Bears and week 4 versus the Steelers. The next 4 games are road clashes in weeks 5, 6, and 8, and they're all against divisional opponents Jacksonville, Tennessee, and Houston, respectively. And they have a week 7 home game versus the Dolphins that's sandwiched in between that. Weeks 9 through 13 features a road game in Minneapolis versus the Vikings, a home clash with the Bills, a road game against the Jets, and a home game with the Lions. And week 13 is a road game in Foxborough against the Patriots. After that, a bye week follows, and then their final 4 games are a road game in Denver against the Broncos, a home game versus the Titans, a road game against Aaron Rodgers and against the New York Giants, and they have a home game where they wrap up the season versus the Jags. And finally, we have the Tennessee Titans, and the head coach will be Brian Callahan. He's in his first year as he replaces Mike Vrabel, who was let go after last season. And Brian Callahan is a son of a former NFL head coach, and Bill Callahan, who also happened to be the former head coach of the Nebraska Cornhuskers. But I digress. And the quarterbacks, starting with Will Levis, as he completely takes over for Ryan Tannehill, and his backups are Mason Rudolph. And Mason Rudolph was a long-time backup in Pittsburgh. He signed during the all season. And Malik Willis, he is in his 3rd year with the Titans. And at the running back position, they will have Tony Pollard as he signed during the off season from Dallas. And his backups are Hassan Haskins. And I really hope that he has his personal affairs in order as he can be a good, productive running back, as I believe he can be. And Ty J. Spears, he is in the 2nd year from Tulane. The wide receivers are as follows. You still have DeAndre Hopkins. He's still with the Titans. And you have Calvin Ridley, who was signed during the off season. He is coming from Jacksonville. And also Tyler Boyd. He is coming from Cincinnati. He also signed during the all season. The tight end, and forgive me if I'm messing up his name, is Josium Okonkwo. And he is in his 2nd year. And also the O-line includes Lloyd Cushenberry III and right tackle Nicholas Petit-Ferrer. The defense includes edge Jeffrey Simmons and linebackers Arden Key and Harold Landry III. And the D-backs include L'Jarius Sneed, who was traded to the Titans from the Chiefs, and also Chijobi Awuzie. He was signed during the offseason. And Quandre Diggs, he was signed during the offseason after he was let go from Seattle. Only free safety Amani Hooker is the returning secondary player, as well as Roger McCready. And so, in other words, first year defense coordinator Denard Wilson will have his hands full in trying to get this unit to mesh. Their draft picks include tackle J.C. Latham from Bama, defensive lineman Devondre Sweat from Texas, and linebacker Cedric Gray from North Carolina. Let's talk about their games. Their games includes a week 1 opener on the road against Caleb Williams and the Chicago Bears, followed by back-to-back home games, starting with the home opener versus Aaron Rodgers and the Jets, and a week 3 matchup versus Green Bay. That's followed by a week 4 road game in Miami versus the Dolphins in Tua. Week 5, they have a bye week. Then the next 4 games feature a home divisional matchup with the Colts in week 6, followed by back-to-back road games for week 7 and 8 at Buffalo and at Detroit, respectively. In the week 9 game at home versus the Patriots. Weeks 10 through 13 involves a matchup on the road at SoFi to take on the LA Chargers, at home versus Minnesota, and back-to-back road games starting with the divisional matchup against the Texans in Houston, followed by a battle in DC against the Commanders. The final 5 games will see the Titans have back-to-back home games versus the Jags and then the Bengals for week 15. Then they will have back-to-back divisional road games in Indianapolis versus the Colts and at Jacksonville versus the Jags. Then they close it out at home versus the Texans. Maybe this unit can mesh, maybe, but I just don't see it, at least from the first season. I could be wrong, but we shall see.
All right, after we broke down all 4 teams, here are my predictions. I have the Houston Texans repeating as AFC South champions at around 11-6 or 10-7. Next, I have the Jacksonville Jaguars coming in second, also at 11-6, 10-7 range. However, I can see Houston winning a tiebreaker. Next, I have the Indianapolis Colts finishing around 8-9 or 9-8. Last but not least, I have Tennessee Titans finishing around 7-10, 6-11 range. I may be wrong. These are my predictions. going by games and who the personnel they have and the coaching staff. That just off of my feelings. If you disagree, you can put it down in the comments. If you like this video, hit that like button. And please continue to support your boy by subscribing to my channel. I deeply appreciate it. Until next time, peace.